We have been voiceless for so
I'm
long.
single, so I don't even have the wedding anniversary.
For me, that's also respecting myself. Yeah.
And that's brave.
It's okay to look after myself.
I am not a good drawer. Drawer is another thing. Welcome to another episode. I'm with, if I pronounce it correctly, Anne Altamore. Did I correct? Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
How are
You
you,
got
Anne?
that correct. Good. Thank you, Laura. How are you? Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you this morning.
It's my evening, and yeah, thank you for being flexible because I know we should have recorded a long time ago, but finding the time zones it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
I know. And it's like, can you believe it's the end of July?
Oh,
I'm like, where has the 7 months gone? Unbelievable.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I Today I uploaded an episode about my pets and I was looking photos about them to upload in the thumbnail. And I realized there's also been a year I'm living in this house. And for me it's like I just moved.
I
Um
know. Time has gone so quickly. Yeah.
yeah, we were talking about that before I hit record about time
Mm.
and it's so relative, like Einstein say.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I find that, when I'm really busy and doing stuff, and of course time goes quickly when you're busy
Yeah.
and you're happy. Um, and they also say that as you get older, time goes quickly, more quickly anyway.
Yeah.
But I also can't help wondering whether the change of my mindset over the last 10, 15 years is also part of that. Time is going quickly because I'm in a much better place than I was a long time ago. Yeah.
I agree. I had a year of severe anxiety and I the day was so fucking long and
Mm,
it was like 5 years ago. I'm not talking about 20 years ago. So
yeah.
my age is kind of the same. And now that I'm enjoying my life and doing this podcast and interacting with people that I like and it's like, oh my God, the day has gone and I don't know where.
It makes a big difference, doesn't it? That mindset, which is, the whole title of your podcast,
Yeah,
but also having that mindset around exactly what you said, being with people that I like, doing
yeah,
things that I like doing.
yeah.
Um, it took me a long time to work that out, but now I'm going, but that's so basic. That is so common sense. Why did it take me so long to actually work out that that's what we need?
Exactly the same. Like I started looking to post on IG and Facebook and reels about mindset and started doing things I liked and I felt I can't do that. And now it's like, why? Why didn't I realize sooner? Why didn't I start sooner? But yeah, it happens clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I think when we're caught up in a certain space in our mind, sometimes it becomes a little bit hard to see outside
Yeah,
of that, like you talked about anxiety.
yeah,
I work with a lot of people who are grieving, and that becomes our world. So I think one of the really important things I've learned is to be patient and to say, okay, that was all I had the energy to do
yeah,
at that point in time, and that's okay.
yeah.
What am I going to do from today onwards? Um, and again, took me a long time to get to that space because, I think one of the things that we as women do is we tend to beat ourselves up. We go, oh, I should have, I could have, why didn't I? And it's like they're useless questions, really. Like you can learn from the past, but you can't change it. So
Yeah,
one of the things I've been very consciously working on is, okay, that's happened. What can I learn from it? What do I do today? Now, I'm not even talking about tomorrow. I'm talking about what do I do today?
yeah, yeah. I do that, and I also forgive myself and other
Yeah.
people. That doesn't mean I want to have them in my life, but
Mm,
I understand they are coming from their level of, I don't know, consciousness or understanding or so. Instead of, because I was a really angry and resentful person, everything was ruminating about, oh, Anne said me this, and I'm going to say that to her. And I
mm,
was like, no, she said me that because maybe she's having a bad day. Maybe we can talk about it. Or maybe it's like, yeah, I don't want to hang out with Anne anymore because she always have has this like bad manners. And that's okay. I
mm.
forgive you. I leave you to your path, and I
Yeah.
don't drink the poison waiting for something to happen to you. I'm putting
Yeah.
you as a sample, not because I have anything against you.
Yeah. Now that's really, really interesting. So forgiving other people, a lot of us work at it and we need to do it. And I love your, okay, that's it, that's fine. I don't need to keep interacting with you. But I was really interested in what you said about forgiving yourself. How do you do that?
The same mm, mindset that I apply to others, I apply to myself. It's not easy,
Okay. Hmm.
but I do, like, you did the best you can. And I have this inner dialogue where, no, I should do that, or I should have done that because I,
Mm,
and you didn't know. It's easy to look now at the results and say, oh yeah, I should have. You didn't know, you did the best you could. Look how far you've come now. And I started like, and if the voice is too, no, you shouldn't. I start like making fun of it,
okay.
you know. So
Yep.
it loses weight and
Yep.
seriousness.
Hmm. So managing your internal dialogue.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. You just reminded me of a quote. I think it's from Maya Angelou. It says, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the exact words. It
yeah,
says something like, now that you know better, do better.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
It's
that's kind of, yeah, that's something I'm trying to work at as well. Mm,
it's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been doing that for like 15 years. And I still get to, oh, you should have done, and again, and I do it again. But I strengthen the neural path that,
hmm.
yeah, I'm here now. I can't change what I did, and what's the point of keep beating myself up because I did that, and I was so unhappy and so angry on the time, and now that I'm forgiving
Yeah.
myself, I'm happier. So let's keep doing that, and that
Yeah.
feedback, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I always say to myself, this is my internal dialogue. I'll say, I don't have a crystal ball. I didn't know
yeah,
what the future was. Did I do, say, think, feel, whatever it was at that point in time with the best information and the best intent
yeah.
that I had? Yes, okay, well, that was the best I could do. No, I could have done better. Well, there's the could have again. And it's like, yeah, I have to tell myself, stop. Yes,
Yeah,
you could have done better, but at that point in time, that was all you could do. So,
yeah,
it's a little bit like these things that we see every now and again, letter to your younger self.
yeah,
Reflection. What would you say to your younger self? Yeah.
yeah. It's the thing is, it's not easy. and I don't want to like lie about it,
Mm.
It's practice, and it's forgiving it's forgiving yourself when you are not making the forgiveness to yourself real.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of, but I think everyone can get there, but it's practice. There is no easy fix.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any like rituals or activities that you do? Because we hear things like I was in a some seminar once and they said, "Oh, give yourself a hug." And I'm like, "What's the point?" Like for me that doesn't work, right? But then I was talking to somebody else and they said, "Write yourself a letter."
Yeah.
And as you're writing, you will get clarity. And then they said, "Fold the letter, put it in an envelope and put it in a safe place. And every time you have self-doubt, take it and read it." Another person I was working with, they said, write down all your regrets. On the other side, write down, could you have done better?
Yeah.
And my answer was no, because that was all the information I had. That was and you do that and you go, actually, I did the best I could at that point in time. And
Yeah.
she said, all right, now tear that piece of paper up and throw it away.
Yeah.
But it was really hard for me to do that because I thought, no, I want to keep this
Been there, yeah.
because I want to know, like I want to keep this. This is a good process. And again, the question that person asked was, they said, why are you holding on to this? You've just said there was nothing you could have done differently. Why are you holding? And I was like, wow, that is a profound question. So simple
Yeah, I
and
don't
yet,
know how that it's psychomagic, something like that. It's called in Spanish, the ritual where you cheer something up or light it in fire, the paper where you wrote
mhm,
that kind of thing. It releases, it's the same process why we do wakes for people that has passed is a ritual.
yep,
And it's really powerful. I've done that so many times.
mm, yep,
And I actually have a guide, a few rituals for Childless Not By Choice people that wants to do kind of a wake for their unborn
yep,
kids. And
yep,
writing a letter and burying it is one. I did that
yeah,
with the name
yeah,
of my kids and
yep,
all the things that I hoped for and never come
yep,
to. And it still hurts, but
yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah,
be able to tell you if I hadn't done that ritual.
yeah. Rituals are so powerful.
Yes.
I used to stay away from them because I was like, oh, this is a bit woo-woo and it's a bit superstitious. But then when I started doing my grief studies and I started looking into it, there was a sentence that really stood out to me. And it said something like, and again, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exact words, the ritual tangibilizes the intangible.
Yeah.
So, like, what you said, you're burying um the things that cannot be, or
Yeah.
you're burning it or letting it go or whatever. And I really like that because I think also being childless, we don't have a lot of tangibility
Yeah.
around a lot of things, right? Like so I'm childless after loss, and I've got nothing to show for because it was an early loss. So, I have a few things, but they're not things I would publicly display.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what do I do? How do I do this? And it's like when because we were on IVF, and when we ended IVF and I walked out of that clinic and it was like, now what? But again, there was nothing to mark that. There
Yeah.
was nothing to say, I'm ending that. I had a conversation with the specialist. I said, thank you very much for everything. This is goodbye. And I walked out. It wasn't goodbye because I've gone back to see him a couple of times. But I walked out and there was nothing. And now looking back, I can't help thinking, how helpful would it have been if I had known about the power of ritual then? Because I'm
Yeah,
sure, I would have done something. I would have, maybe caught up with a friend and said, let's go for a walk in a park, or,
yeah,
let's
or
make paper
make a
boats and
paper ship
yeah,
in a lake,
and let
something
it
that,
go. Or
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
never thought about of it. Um, and then it was many, many, many years later, again, when I was working on all this mindset shift,
Yeah,
and I was looking at a YouTube clip, Leaves on a Stream. You put your thoughts and you
yeah,
visualize it going away. And I was talking to a friend of mine who is a mental health OT, and she said, "Why don't we actually go and do that?" She said, "Let's go down to a stream, let's write things down and
and let go.
put them and watch them float away." And I was like, wow, that is such a good idea. So we got gum leaves,
Yeah,
we got a permanent marker, wrote things on it, and we just watched it float away. And then the things that we kind of really wanted to get rid of, we got rocks. And we went, okay, this rock is going to hold whatever. I'm going to throw it away. It was so powerful.
yeah,
And I walked away from that feeling really released.
yeah,
And it's interesting because now when I think of something, I can go back to the memory of doing that, and I can go, I did that, I let that go, and so leaves in a stream, that we also actually did it, but also visualization. Yeah.
yeah. It's a great deal of that is because our brain actually doesn't differentiate between reality and imagination. That's why we
Mm.
put something in a paper and we can let go. Or the rock is this rock represents, and our brain is like, okay, it represents that. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love how science is started to reconcile with the who I'm a really spiritual person,
Mm.
but a lot of that rituals were like, yeah, that's weird. And now science is
Mm.
saying like, your brain doesn't know that's not real, so do it. It's going to be
Yeah.
good for you. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much research on that.
yeah,
I think there's a really good book that's been published, but there's a lot of papers
yeah,
around the power of ritual, especially in grief. Um, and I think it is like you, I think it's great that there's science around it, because I like having evidence to back up what I'm doing. But, again, if we look at the wisdom of the ancients, people have been doing rituals forever, right?
yes,
We do a ritual to celebrate. We do a ritual to commiserate. We have rituals to say goodbye. We have, you know, a party, a birthday party, when we
yeah,
celebrate a first birthday. That is a form of ritual, right? Like
yeah,
in some cultures, the celebration of a birthday, my grandmother used to always say, it's giving thanks for your life. And I never understood that. I was like, no, it's a party and presents. Yeah. But now I understand what she says. It's celebrating your life. It's saying thank you for the year that's been. And that's a ritual of
yeah,
sort, but we don't think of it as a ritual. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm talking about it. I in my Facebook group, I don't know if you saw it, but I'm trying to celebrate our lives, our milestones, because a lot of us don't get, I'm single, so I don't even have the wedding anniversary, you know?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to celebrate those wins. And I
Yeah.
think society as a whole needs more of that. That celebrations, that rituals of I got there. I thought I
Yeah.
wouldn't, I never could.
Yeah. You're right. I think a lot of us, we tend to pin a celebration to a specific event,
Yeah,
like you said, anniversaries, birthdays, what do they call them? High days and holy days.
yeah,
And that's great. That's fantastic. But I think there's also lots of little things that we can celebrate, right? So, for example, we finished a big project at work. That's a
Yes.
celebration. Let's do it. Let's be happy with our achievements. Or, we have gotten through a really hard week. That's an achievement. Let's find a way to create some joy around
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I just look back. I mean, I'm 62 now, and I look back at, well, I was 30 when I started fertility treatment. So much of that time on IVF, I don't remember because it was just going from one appointment
Yeah.
to the next. And when there was a loss, it was sleeping for hours on end.
Mm.
And somebody asked me the other day, what did you do in your 30s? And I was like, I honestly cannot tell you. I worked really hard and I had a fantastic career, very grateful for that. But how did I feel? I can't remember. Did I have joy in my life? I honestly cannot remember. Um, but the last few years where I've been consciously working on things and consciously thinking about, what am I doing? What am I telling my mind I need to be thinking, feeling, acting, behaving has made such a difference to that. I mean, not that I'm ha ha he happy every day. Yes, I do have, my moments, but it's a lot more being present and it's a lot more of being conscious of what's happening. Um, so I think for me, the biggest lesson I've learned is being happy and choosing how I'm going to think, act, feel, behave also means giving space to honor my feelings, whatever they are, right? And
Yeah.
if I'm going to have, and I'll triggers. So if there's going to be a trigger, and we know in our childless world, there's a lot of them,
Yeah.
but it's also honoring that and going, you know what? Yes, this is a hard day because I've just seen 15 children in the stationery shop buying school supplies,
Yeah.
and that's hard. And that's okay. What am I going to do with this? I'm not going to bury those feelings. I'm going to go back home and I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm going to honor that. And now that you've mentioned rituals, I'm going to think about, is there something I can do to let that go?
I
Um,
I do some things like I sometimes draw. I don't I like drawing. I am not a good drawer. Drawer is another thing. I don't draw
artist,
great,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it gives me the outlet of this is what I'm feeling. This is me feeling it.
yeah.
And there are a lot of aggressive or violent drawings in my folder,
Mm,
but they let me breathe. Like
yes,
because it was a ritual of okay, I'm putting it on
yeah,
this paper and I'm acknowledging what I'm feeling.
yeah.
And sometimes it's not sadness, it's hunger.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. And like that's why I said feelings, whatever the feeling
Yeah,
is, um, it's like feelings are not good or bad, they're feelings.
yeah,
It's what we do with those feelings
yeah,
that then, there's repercussions. If I'm angry and I rip up paper, that's okay. If
yeah,
I'm angry and I'm going to punch someone, no, that's not okay, right? So again, it's I think coming to understand all of that sort of thing. Creative expression,
yeah,
fantastic. Um, Drawing. The other thing somebody was telling me about is when they get angry, they go and rip up paper.
yeah.
So they'll get magazines, newspaper, whatever, and they'll just rip them out.
I
Beautiful.
I used to punch a pillow also.
Yeah.
When I needed my physicality to
Yeah.
express it, not just drawing that is more quiet and still,
Yeah.
I punch a pillow.
Yep. I do body combat. So I get a bit of exercise. I get all those feelings out.
I do
Again,
exercise, but it's not the same, when you have that
mm,
adrenaline pumping through your
yeah,
veins, that is like, I need to get out
yeah,
of, get it out, not get out,
yeah.
get that adrenaline
Well,
out.
it's an energy, right? So we need to
Yeah,
release it. Yeah.
yeah,
And keeping, I mean, now again, there's so much research around when you hold anger,
yeah,
your body doesn't know what to do with it. And,
yeah,
things happen. People talk about, grinding their teeth and they have migraines.
yeah.
I cracked a tooth because I was grinding my teeth in my sleep.
I grind
People
my
talk about,
teeth too. When I was in my 20s, that I was so angry, and I
yeah,
didn't do anything with that. Yeah,
yeah. Do you think as women we don't acknowledge or give space for anger because we're always told good girls don't get angry, good girls are quiet. I don't know about you, you're much younger than me, but I know when I was little, that was always the case.
I know in my family, anger was the only emotion that was allowed. But when I was in the world outside my family, anger was not accepted.
Mm,
So it became a problem for me, because for me being angry it was normal, and
mm,
people started to picking up on me because, oh, I thought everyone was angry all the time.
yeah,
But at the same time, I get what you say, because my mom would get angry at me and sometimes beat me, and I wasn't allowed to get angry at her. I had to be the good girl and take it, because I.
yeah,
So it's tricky. And it took me
yeah,
so many years to understand anger and to understand what it was telling me. This is your boundary, they are not respecting them. Put
mm,
an end to the situation, and not in a violent way, because that was my reaction, not my response, my
yeah,
reaction.
yeah, yeah. And I think you've hit on a really good point there too about boundaries.
Yeah,
I need to have my boundaries. I need to understand what they are.
yeah,
I love there's this beautiful saying which says, fences keep people out, but a boundary shows them where the gate is.
yeah,
And I have the choice of whether I let you in or I keep you out. And sometimes I might need to keep you out for today, but that doesn't mean it's forever. But having those boundaries is so important. Um, and again, I think that also helps with managing anger
yeah,
because anger and grief are so closely related, aren't they? And it's like if I'm going to go out and I'm going to say I go into a cafe because I want a nice coffee and a croissant, and I'm sitting there and there's screaming children everywhere. One, I'm going to get angry because they're disrupting my peace.
yeah.
But what's underlying that anger?
It's great.
It's you've disrupted my peace, but it's also, if I'm completely honest, there's also a little bit of that. I don't have that.
Yeah,
I would love to be able to be sitting in a cafe with my kids, but
yeah,
that's not going to happen. But again, it's that, okay, so what's the boundary that I need, in something like that. So what I do now is if I go to a cafe, I always ask for my coffee and croissant in a takeaway
yeah,
container. So if it gets too much and I haven't finished, I just get up and I walk away. For me, that's also respecting myself, respecting my space, my feelings, my ability to deal with that.
yeah,
Some days I don't care because I've got my headphones on and I'm listening to a podcast or reading a book or
yeah,
something. But some days it's too much. Yeah. And I've had cafe people go, but you're sitting here. I'm going, yeah, but I might take a long time to finish my drink, and people are happy to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's about knowing ourselves and knowing that not every day we are going to be the same. So
Yeah,
it's so important that you have that safety measure because you are able to also relax better knowing, okay, if this is too much, I can go.
yep, yep,
Forcing yourself to stay in a place where it can be overwhelming. It's it's counterproductive is the word.
yeah, yeah. I think so. Yeah, but how often do we do that?
Yeah,
Like, how many times have I? I'll use the cafe example again. How many times have I sat in a cafe because I was too embarrassed to ask for them? I haven't finished my coffee. Can you put it in a takeaway cup? And
yeah,
I'm too embarrassed, too scared, because what are they going to say? What are they going to think? How do I do this? And you sit there and you're getting more and more upset. And
yeah.
there's no point. Yeah. Yeah. I think knowing when to leave and knowing when not to get into a situation is also a huge part of understanding yourself.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that understanding comes from reflecting and feeling your emotions. It
Mm.
is, at least for me, is okay, especially like the grief and anxiety that sometimes caught me off guard, It's like, I'm feeling great. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. So
Yeah.
getting to know my body and my reactions and what thoughts are floating took me a long time,
Yeah.
but now I feel more safe and secure in myself. Okay,
Yeah.
I can deal with that. I can't deal with that. I'm removing myself
Yep. Yep.
and not trying to force the world to change. Sorry, because that's something that I see a lot in the childless community. We sometimes expect the world to change instead
Mm.
of realizing that the world is a world and we can't control outside ourselves.
Yep. Yeah. That is so true. It's like whatever's going to happen is going to happen,
Yeah,
but I have a choice. I can choose how I react. I can choose whether I participate. And I think empowering ourselves to make those choices and being brave to set those boundaries
yeah,
is, I believe it's a lifetime of work because things change.
yeah,
Our boundaries might change. The things that upset us may change, but empowering ourselves to make those choices, I think, is the biggest gift we can give ourselves.
yeah. And I'm not trying to like I I usually say I try to change the world with my reach, I try to be
Mm,
kind and I try to create the ripple effect. And I'm not saying that like if you are not able to speak up yet,
mm,
for example, in the work environment, I'm not telling you, oh, quit and find another job, but maybe start to like have a friend that you can send him or her a text and I'm not good, and that person
mm.
can listen to you,
Yep,
or a stress ball or something that
yep,
makes you release without having to bottom all what that you're feeling and swallow it because you are the one that
yep.
is going to end up sick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think also what you said about we can we can make changes by raising awareness,
Yeah,
by educating, which is, what your podcast is doing. We're raising awareness on
yeah,
topics. We're educating the non-childless community about some of the things that are important to us and where we're coming from. And that is part of creating change.
Yeah.
For me, I used to get so frustrated that people weren't listening, right? And now again, I kind of go, all I can do is be respectful,
Yeah.
be polite, and, do what I can. But again, if people aren't going to respect or listen, that's not about me, that's about them.
Yeah, but also like I want to raise awareness, but there are ways of doing it. If you are wearing a red t-shirt and I hate red, and I go to you and, why are you wearing red? I hate the color. You're going to react to me like, fuck off. It's
Mm,
my t-shirt. But if I go to you and say, hey, you know, maybe you could tone down the t-shirt and I don't know, add some blue on it so it's not
mm,
so bright. Or why are you wearing a red t-shirt? I'm interested in your perspective because personally I hate red t-shirts, but maybe you can give me some insight. And
mm.
people are willing to talk about it. But it's
Yeah,
our
yeah,
energy, our
yeah.
yeah,
Because, I might come back to you and say I'm wearing red because I'm feeling really scared today, and red helps me feel confident.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
for me it would
that
be
could be, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But again, also, I think having those conversations also takes a lot of bravery.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I had to defend myself so much during my life that sometimes my
Mm.
bravery is my default and I don't realize how vocal I am.
But that's a strength, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
deny it's a strength, but it comes from so
Mm.
much trauma that is like I don't know if I wanted this strength, but yeah, it's what it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things, especially in the work environment, that I wish I was brave enough to
Yeah.
say. But I'm also aware that sometimes it's about timing,
Yeah.
So one of the things I will do is I'm going to share this podcast with my work colleagues, I'll
Hmm.
share and your podcast. It's like, have a listen to this. It's, a whole lot of people talking about a whole lot of topics,
Yeah.
but the thing we all have in common is
It's
we're
childlessness.
childless. Yeah. World Childless Week that's coming up,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. We put up posters. We
Yeah.
can invite people to webinars, invite people to read the website. Again, it's about timing, about here's an event, it's a global event.
Or just mention it just casually, like, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm attending World Childless Week. And
Yep.
you don't need to explain it anymore. If the
Yeah.
person is open to know about it, they will ask. And if not, you
Yep.
didn't violate any rudeness code or, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there are small steps that sometimes we don't take because we don't know how.
Mm. Yeah. And that's a really good point you bring up, the how.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I spent 2 decades hiding my infertility IVF journey because in those days you didn't talk about it.
No.
That being quiet and hiding a lot of things became the normal for me.
Yeah.
Um, Now, of course, things have changed. People are more open. People are talking about their IVF journeys. People are talking about infertility. But because for so long I was quiet, I still have to make an effort to be brave to say, this is where. So I'm changing. I'm starting to do it a lot more. But it takes a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of, again, knowing yourself and empowering yourself to have these conversations.
But you're being a guest in a podcast about childlessness.
Mm,
So it's not it's not something small.
yeah. Thank you for the
But
opportunity.
but
But yeah,
recognize and
yeah,
celebrate that because
yeah.
I do this also because Stephanie, Shodi, and so many other women came before me and start
Mm,
talking about it.
yeah.
And
Yep, absolutely.
so I get that you are older than me and that you feel like you are not brave enough, but you are doing a podcast with it's also your image, not just your
Mm,
voice.
yeah,
And that's brave.
yeah.
That is
But
brave.
it's taken a while to get here. You know, 10 years ago, I would have gone, nah, I'll write something for you. But again, it's also that whole thing of what are my values? What are my
Yeah.
beliefs? What do I want today to be like for me? What do I want tomorrow to be like for the younger people who are coming through? I'm thinking, is there a person, a 30-year-old who is going through the same things I went through when I'm 30? And, is what I'm saying today going to help that person go, okay, that's okay. Or, I can do this. Or it's okay for me to say no to a baby shower because I'm
Yeah.
going through treatment at the moment, or I don't have children and I don't really want to babysit, so it's okay to say no. You know, I think a lot of that stuff comes with understanding that it's okay. Like it's
Yeah.
really important to normalize that it's okay to say no.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also, for me, it's also normal to cry. I get that crying in public might be shameful, but maybe you can go to your house and cry when something's triggering you, you know?
Mm, yeah,
Because that's also a thing that I had to learn to to allow myself to the weakness between quotes, you know?
yeah,
Because I felt like, oh, if I cry, I'm weak, I should power through. And it's a learning curve. And
yeah,
maybe your strength was to be more toned down, and me was
mm,
like scream at the world, and I had to tone down the screaming, and you had to turn up the okay, I'm here, and this is what I'm
mm,
going through. But
yeah,
the what I love about this childless community is that we help each other to raise the awareness. And maybe me doing a podcast makes you braver, and you with your peacefulness, and because for me you're very peaceful, you're calm and more centered.
thank you.
But you help me like, okay, I don't need to keep fighting, I can relax a little. So we can help each other by being who we are.
Yeah. And, again, it's also that, we talked about understanding ourselves,
Yeah,
like you say, it's okay to cry. Crying is not a sign of weakness. Crying is things have gotten too much. I need to express it.
yeah,
And it's okay. Yes, don't sit and bawl in a board meeting. That's probably going to be inappropriate. But you can always excuse yourself. Say, I need a minute. I'll be back. Deal with
yeah,
your feelings and come back. We've all done that.
yeah,
Um, but again, it's being brave to say, I need a minute. And
yeah,
sometimes that takes a lot of courage in the workplace.
yeah. The thing I when I wasn't able to say I need a minute, I started having panic attacks. So my first reaction now is always I need a minute. And people
Mm,
understand that okay, I need to breathe, I need to walk, I need to something, but I can't take it because I have a full-blown panic attack otherwise. And
Mm.
my panic attacks are I run. I run like
Oh,
hell.
wow. Yeah.
It's or if you don't let me out, like I if I can't get out, it's fight.
Mm.
I never freeze. It's like
Okay. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it also made me know myself, know my
Yeah.
limits, know my boundaries, know when I feel threatened.
Yeah. So for you, it's really important to be able to say, I
I
need
need
a
a
minute
minute.
and
Yeah.
set those boundaries. Yeah. See, for me, I would just suppress everything and I'd go, I'll deal with it later, and later could be tonight after I finish work, later could be on the weekend. But by then, what's already happened to me, right? The feelings have
Yeah.
gone crazy. I've probably ground my teeth really badly. I've probably got a headache. So yeah, for me, it's a real learning curve to go. Sometimes I just need to say, I need a minute,
The thing
go and
is,
do what I need to do and come back.
I had to power through my first 18 years. I wasn't secure in my house. I wasn't secure outside my house. So I, I swallow everything. I like
Mm.
this, the anger, the fear, everything. It was bottom up. And yeah,
Yeah,
in my 20s, panic attacks were like like air for me. I had,
yeah,
so now I get to put boundaries more like okay, and but it's weird because now I feel like I have this privilege, so to speak, position where I can voice what I'm feeling, but
mm,
because all the shit that I went through, then when
yeah,
I couldn't talk, I couldn't, and I didn't have anyone to advocate for me.
mm,
So
yeah,
that's why I'm trying to do for everybody. I'm trying to advocate for our childlessness life. So
yeah,
I can speak, I do it.
yeah. And that is so important, you're absolutely right. It's like we have been voiceless for so long
Yeah,
that I think it's really important. There's people like you, Stephanie, Jody
yeah.
Day, all
Robin,
all the big names in our community, um, who are advocating, who are giving voice.
yeah,
And my hope is that the people who are coming through, the younger people, will then go, it's okay to talk about this.
yeah.
It's okay to voice my feelings. It's okay to look after myself because I didn't have those role models when I was young.
Neither did
So
I.
again, like you, I'm like, okay, what can I do to be a role model? What can I do to help younger people see that it's okay to have a voice. It's okay to have feelings. These things are normal. These things are okay.
Yeah,
What can we do to actually manage our own narrative?
yeah. And it's not just for the people that are coming. I see that now, in Facebook, in the everyday Facebook. And but I'm also starting to know more people that are talking, like more podcasts about being childless,
Yeah,
more books about being childless. And I think that's so awesome.
yeah. I think it's amazing. I've noticed in the last few years, the landscape has definitely changed.
Yeah,
There's so many more people um, sharing things
yeah,
on social media. I guess social media has had a lot to do with it.
yeah,
There's so many more people advocating for changes in the workplace. There's so many more people being brave enough to come out and say, yes, I am childless.
yeah,
And stop asking me why. I think I saw some celebrity saying the other day that you have no idea, something about we didn't know the struggle that this person went through. So, stop asking me or stop
Yeah,
making assumptions. So I think there's definitely a change in the landscape. And I really hope in my lifetime I will see a much more accepting environment where we are free to express our thoughts and feelings.
yeah, I hope so too. And I don't know, maybe it's naive of me, but I think we are getting there because, like I said, there are more podcasts, more books, more. So I feel people are more understanding.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think I have seen a big shift in the last few years.
Yeah,
So there's definitely a lot of change happening for the better.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Love, is there anything else you want to share, to say?
Mm. No, I think this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been great,
Thank you.
great chatting. I love what we've talked about, um, being brave, boundaries, triggers, rituals. Fantastic. I've learned so much. Thank you so much.
Likewise, thank you so much for being my guest. We'll keep in touch because we usually both comment on Stephanie's, Robin's, and someone else's
Yes,
status, and it's an
I
ongoing
know. Yeah,
thing.
no, we'll definitely keep in touch. I'd like to have a bigger chat with you about rituals at some stage. So
Yeah,
yeah,
let's do
yeah,
that. Okay,
we'll do that. Okay.
thank you.